TV Campfire Podcast.
I was like, yep, okay, so you win for the week.
We're here.
I hate to sound like a broken record.
Oh no! We're fans.
It's one of the best things on television.
Oh! All right, we got you a whole different level.
No, you didn't.
We talk TV.
That was the best scene ever. Like, that blew me away.
It was absolutely amazing. I just couldn't believe it.
Welcome to the show.
This is podcast number 616, and I'm Libya, your host. And this week we have returning guests.
Hi, this is Tom. I chair Visual Media Arts at Palm Beach Atlantic University in Florida and host the Screen Tom podcast on iTunes and Spotify.
Hi, this is Allison, and I write reviews for 6 Degrees of Geek.
This is Malik. I'm artistic director of Griot Theater.
Hi, this is Yusun. I'm a costume designer and TV enthusiast from Los Angeles.
All right, Tom, hit us with the news. What do you got?
Lots of news. Amazon has announced that Ron Moore will be the showrunner of the God of War series adaptation.
That sounds like it'll be good.
Yeah, well, one, I love God of War, and two, I like Ron Moore, so that makes me very happy.
Newly minted Tony Award winner Jonathan Groff is going to guest on Amy Sherman Palladino and Daniel Palladino's upcoming series Étoile, with Spring Awakening co-star Gideon Glock, and Luke Kirby from Marvelous Mrs. Maisel will also star in that series. And Good Omens Season 3 is just going to be a wrap-up telephone. Boo.
Yeah, boo.
At AMC Plus, Omarion will star as a charismatic hitman with a conscience in Wild Rose.
Omarion the singer?
Yes.
Okay.
Apple TV Plus, Nick Offerman is joining Elle Fanning, Nicole Kidman, and Michelle Pfeiffer in Margot's Got Money Trouble series. Leo Woodall from White Lotus Season 2 and Quintessa Swindell are going to be the leads of the upcoming thriller series Prime Target. BET Studios has given a Season 2 order to Churchy from stand-up comedian Kevin Stage Fredericks and LeBron James Spring Hill Production Company. At CBS, Georgie and Mandy has snagged the back 9 for a full season order of 22. Matlock has likewise been picked up for Season 2. Lizette Oliveira is leaving FBI after just a few episodes as a series regular, and Michael Emerson is going to join his wife, Carrie Preston, in a recurring role on Elsbeth as her adversary. That'll be fun.
Okay.
I forgot they were married. Okay.
Comcast is considering spinning off its cable assets into a new company. It's like, how about just giving them away to boost their main company's profit margin? Fox has announced that Martin Short will join John Hamm in the animated series Grimsburg for Season 2 in a recurring role. HBO has announced that Kelly MacDonald has been cast as Sheriff Carey and Garrett Dillahunt in a major recurring role for Lanterns. And Warner's, for some reason, is developing a Game of Thrones movie.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I was like, what?
Maybe they can get George R.R. Martin to not finish the screenplay. Netflix has announced that Beef Season 2 will star Oscar Isaac, Terry Mulligan, Charles Melton, and Kaylee Spaney. Good cast. Olivia Thirlby is going to recur in Law & Order, Organized Crime Season 5 on Peacock. Showtime has announced that Hugh Bonneville from Downton Abbey will guest in their upcoming espionage political thriller, The Agency. And that's it.
That's a lot. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll hear more about those shows as they come out. All right, let's start off with the shows. And I'm sorry, I apologize. It's totally my fault. We are just now starting to discuss Penguin, and it's because I was the skeptic of the group and did not think it was going to be any good, because it was one of those shows very similar to Agatha, where I was like, this is the show that nobody asked for, and they made it anyway. However, I will say this. I completely apologize for Agatha, because that show has been a revelation. This show, not bad. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, but it is not my favorite show.
Colin Farrell is fine, but why do I always forget her name? Sophia, she's amazing.
She's good. I like her different.
Kristen Milioti.
Yeah.
I always have to search for her name.
She's phenomenal. She's phenomenal.
I'm not going to argue.
The show Falcone.
The thing
What
that
else
I will
has she
not,
been in?
She
I'm
was
trying
the
to
mother
finish
in the
my
final
sentence,
season
but
of
nobody's paying
How I
any
Met Your
attention.
Mother.
I've lost this podcast. I've been trying to talk. Everybody's talking over me.
When did you realize that, Libya?
So
Always the last to know, huh?
all I was trying to say, I want to get out my thoughts and you guys can give it your praise because I know you guys like it better than me. All I'm trying to say is I think the acting on this show is phenomenal. I think that the storytelling, some of it's good, some of it's not as good as I would like, but I have no complaints about the acting in any regards whatsoever. And my main issue with the show is it's supposed to be a spinoff of a Batman property in Gotham, and it, other than in the pilot where they do this big, like almost previously on from the last movie where they do a lot of talking about Batman, I do not feel like we're in Gotham at all. It feels like we could be in Chicago. Like I don't feel it the feeling that you get when you watch a superhero show like Batman. I don't feel that in this show at all.
Oh, it's a super villain show.
That's fine. I still don't. It doesn't feel like it's in that same universe. Is my issue. It feels like it's in another, just any other city. I think it's a good mafia show. I just don't like mafia shows. So my main complaint is that I'm not enjoying it like you guys are. And
Heard, chef.
Hey, what?
That's very
What?
nice. I like that. He said herd chef. The
Herd
little
chef.
bear
Oh,
reference.
herd
Yes,
chef.
very very good reference. And of the tone of what I'm saying, I get how he's saying that as well. So that's my main and my favorite episode when we get to it is episode 3. That episode I really just thoroughly enjoyed.
Well,
and
let me jump in because I haven't seen as many episodes as you guys, so I'm gonna mute you guys or I'm gonna silence you guys. But I'm in like 1.5 episodes in.
How are
And
you gonna talk? Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
so, well, it speaks to my interest in the show. It's like I was fascinated seeing Colin Farrell as the Penguin. I think he looks amazing. I mean, in terms of makeup.
Mhm.
And his just the way he's embodying the Penguin, like his, it doesn't seem like a caricature. It doesn't seem, I mean, it doesn't, he really does. Sometimes when people wear makeup, a lot of costuming and makeup, it kind of, seems like they're putting on a performance. But he just seems very, very real. He's unrecognizable. He doesn't have any even Colin Farrell quirks. Not that he's a quirky actor. He doesn't really have a lot of them, but I was thinking maybe I would see some Colin Farrell through the makeup, but I see none of it. So it's perfect. He's doing a great job. I have met Sophia. I think she's wonderful. I mean, I haven't seen a lot of her, but their first meeting, and I thought that was really great. And it didn't bother me that Gotham isn't really featured in the show. Like,
I think in the first episode,
Well, Libya, you were just
No,
asking
no,
to be
no.
heard.
I
So
know,
let
but
her
I'm
be
just
heard.
saying in the first episode, I agree with her. Go ahead. But
Okay.
as it goes on, it does start to bother me.
Right. So for me, I could see how it could add to it. I'm not saying that it wouldn't add to it, like a good show. Sometimes the location is a third character or fourth character, and like I could see how if they had incorporated more like Gothamness, it could be its own. It could add to like the character of it. But at the same time, not having it, I am just kind of watching it as a mafia film, and or mafia show, and I'm okay with that. Like I don't need. It's a super villain story, so I'm not looking for my superhero. I'm looking for the what is it? What do they call that when it's the story behind the
Origin story.
Thank
Secret
you.
origin.
It's the origin story. So I don't need all the kind of superhero
I'm not talking about superhero stuff. I'm saying I want to feel like he's in the same city.
No, I
That's
know,
what I
but what
meant.
I'm saying is even that I don't care so much about. Like for me, it's an origin story and he's a mafia dude. Like at that point, like you know, this is his origin story doesn't really have that much to do.
But actually, but it should. That's how Batman villains work. Like,
Right.
Batman is part of their origin. They are who they
Right.
are because of who they're
but
fighting.
I don't think it's happened yet. Like maybe I don't know. Is Penguin going to be just a one-off? It's just 6 episodes and then we're done.
I think it's 8 episodes.
Oh, 8
but yes,
episodes?
it is a one-off, but it should be a part of it, and so that's part of why
he was in the movie.
Yeah,
and this takes place after the movie, so he and Batman have already had, have already faced off before.
They have,
but not in the sense that he's like the Penguin that we know from the comics. He's still just a low-level thug who's trying to, who's got ambitions to be more.
Okay, so I forgot. All right, well, I'll stop talking so you guys can move on to the extra episodes. But I don't love it. I'm not like, oh my God, this is amazing. But I'm interested enough to continue watching it. And I do like mafia shows. So I like this well enough as a mafia show. And I'm happy to continue watching it and hoping that it's good.
All right. Next, who wants to talk next? On episode 2 or 3?
I'll talk. I do agree with Libya that it's really not a Batman show. We have very, from now and again, and mainly in the pilot, we get references to the movie and Batman and also the Riddler. And I think the episode that you like in particular, Libya, goes back to a very big moment from the movie and what the Riddler does. So that's in there. But what I think is, I like the show anyway, and I think that realistically, if you lived if you lived in Gotham, or if you lived in Metropolis, you would be in a place where, yes, there is this superhero running around catching villains and crazy villains running about, but your everyday life would not be like every single moment thinking about Batman.
There
are people who are living their lives and doing their thing. And
yes, but they're not trying to become the head of a criminal organization.
Well, and that's the thing. If they're going to actually have the time to build up a criminal organization, there has to be some breathing room between them and Batman. So far, I think everything that they've done, I could see happening more or less, without Batman being aware of what they're doing or necessarily caring about what they're doing, because they're just fighting each other. They're not really going after the public in a big way, except for, passing out a party drug at this point. So yeah, I'm really okay with it in that sense. And yeah, other than that, it is kind of a mob TV show, but I love The Sopranos and I like shows like that. So it's working for me, and it's carrying off in the sense that I like how they depict the characters, which is a kind of a surprise, really, because if you were going to pick a character to do a TV show about from the Batman movie, the Penguin wouldn't have been it. He's probably my least favorite iteration of the Penguin ever. But once I see him in action in this show, first of all, it's a brilliant performance. And second, what they're doing with his life, with his mother and his sort of forcibly mentoring this poor kid Victor.
Forcibly mentoring? Is that what we're calling kidnapping now?
Forcibly mentoring.
We're just he kidnapped him, and so that's forcibly mentoring.
It's an aggressive boys program.
So. It really yes.
So instead of scared straight, it's scared crooked.
Fostering an orphan boy.
Yeah. Well, because let's face it, he kidnaps him, he scares the life out of him, but over the course of this, he becomes almost a father figure to this kid in this really disturbing way.
They do have a word for that. If you kept someone against their will for a long time and they start
syndrome.
I do believe that is the word that we're looking for.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. But he did have an opportunity to get away and he turned it down and he went back to him. So
that's also Stockholm syndrome.
Yes, I'm
just saying.
But that's I'm not saying no. But I think that's a fascinating relationship between them because of that dynamic. And so I'm being sucked into this world, and Again, Christine Milioti as Sophia she's just amazing. I mean, she doesn't.
Bomb.
The only thing she does makeup wise is some really catchy eye makeup that she's got going on, but other than that, it's just her, and she manages to be scary and sympathetic and just magnetic every
And
time she's
sexy.
on screen.
Malik, do you want to comment?
Yeah, Penguin is a good show that has some great moments. And also has some incredible acting. So I came into the show prepared to dislike Colin Farrell just because. And he defied my expectations in terms of his portrayal. The only thing I could nitpick on is occasionally his accent goes a little too far, but it actually, as I kept watching, it felt more natural.
By
So
accent,
I
do you
think
mean his James Gandolfini impersonation? I'm gonna call it out for what it is.
so yeah, that caused me a little bit of something. But aside from his speech, his spirit that he brings to the character is incredible, impeccable. And I approached it prepared to dislike his performance, but I had a hard time finding things to dislike. I liked a lot of his work. And me in particular, I absolutely love the actress who plays his mother and the interaction
she's so
between
O'Connell.
he and his mother. That is actually what, for me, elevates it from good to great, because he's not just a gangster figure who has personal ambition. It all is deeply rooted in the approval of his mother.
He's a
And even
boy.
the way just that scene where at first they approach the mother as though maybe she's got Alzheimer's, and he's trying to make her feel like he's a normal guy. And then they turn it and twist it in the middle of the scene, and you realize his mother knows, not only does she know exactly what's going on, but she is part of the reason why he has his current worldview and outlook. And she wants him to be a tough guy, and she wants him to conquer the world. If he did not go see his mother in that moment, the show would be over and there'd be no Penguin. He would have run away. His mom is the reason why he didn't run away and why he got the gall to go on and take on the rest of the organization that he came from. So for me, that relationship with his mother is just beautiful and elevates the story and the character beyond what I might have expected.
Well, I think
Yes.
without his mother, he'd just be a sociopath. Because
that's
he
true.
clearly doesn't care about anyone or anything but himself, except for his mother. And
Yeah.
and he is like insanely devoted to her, and goes to huge lengths
And-
to protect her and make sure nobody knows that she's even alive.
Right.
So that is like
just
his one
want-
weakness.
I want Tom to get a chance to talk because we got to keep moving. So
It's the flip side of Sophia Falcone's relation. Briefly, in a nutshell, in episode 1, she has been released from Arkham because she was the hangman, basically a serial killer of prostitutes.
right.
Oh,
In
right.
her backstory episode 4, we found out that her evil father now recast Mark Strong to replace John Turturro from the film. He framed her for all those crimes, and Penguin, as her former driver, and the rest of the family went along with Dad's plan to incarcerate her and say that she's criminally insane. So she exacts her revenge on the surviving family
That
by
was crazy.
gassing them to death, making it
That
look
was
like a gas leak. She spares her little second cousin, but what's really interesting is the fact that she and Oz have this twisted relationship, and Oz murders her brother in episode 1, and so he keeps trying to play her and lie to her, and she ain't stupid and she ain't crazy, and it is the performance of her, she's been around for a while. She was the mother in season 8 of How I Met Your Mother, criminally underused. She's done a bunch of other stuff from A to Z, which short-lived sitcom on NBC, and Palm Springs, a telefilm on Hulu with Andy Samberg. But this is a role that will
Oh my
put her
God,
on
that's
the map.
right. Yeah.
This is the role that will put her on the map. Is whoever thought, the casting director, whoever thought that this light romantic comic actor would have the chops to play this cold-blooded murderess. And she's just, I mean, she so many layers. And once she figures out that what Oz has done exactly, she's coming for him.
Yep.
And so
That's really good.
That's
Yeah.
where the mid-season point of this
Basically, yeah, because he's almost convinced her that he's on her side, almost, and
she's always suspected him, and
she's
she
suspected,
knows he betrayed
but
him.
he's almost got her because he's such a fast talker. He's always talking his way out of stuff, and right when it looks like he's got her, who's it? Not the I forgot what they're called. Marconi's or whatever their name is. Maroney's.
The Maroney's, right.
They show up and totally mess up his con, and now he's trying to fast talk his way out of something else and lying. Like, he is such a liar. Anyway, I want to move on because we have more shows to talk about. We've been on this for like 20 minutes. But
the first 4 episodes are definite thumbs up.
Oh yeah, way up.
I would actually agree. I have a problem with more episodes in the back half than I do in the front. So I will thoroughly agree with you guys. The first 4 are pretty good. All right, next up we're going to talk Superman, and it's the last season, season 4, and it is the death of Superman storyline, which they make very obvious within the first 10 minutes that Superman's not making it out of this super CGI fight, which, by the way, if you can't afford to do a good CGI fight, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Just don't do it.
Especially not your season finale and your final season premiere. Don't do 2 episodes worth of a poorly CGI'd fight.
It is so bad. Anyway, so other than the poor CGI and Superman getting his heart literally ripped out of his chest.
Literally.
There's a big gaping hole in his chest. And then the dude had the gall to like show up in Smallville, walk up to Lois and drop the dead body right at her feet, which I was like, that's pretty cold-blooded. Like, wow, okay.
I really like that everybody who was there at that moment, who has a brain, figured out that that Lois Lane and the Kent boys are in fact Superman's family. Because come on.
Yeah, they all started screaming and crying, and every single person who was standing on the street was like, "Oh, so Superman was Clark Kent." It was like that secret's out. But I do like how they're like kind of slow rolling it. Like each individual person is like coming up to them like, "Oh, so how long did you guys have to keep that secret? I feel so sorry for you that your dad died." And they're like, what?" But
what secret?
I know, right? But I do like this Lex Luthor. But 90% of why I like this Lex Luthor is, one, the casting. I think that oh my God, why am I blanking on his name?
Michael Cudlitz.
Thank you, Michael Cudlitz. I love Michael Cudlitz as an actor, and I haven't seen Lex Luthor played this way before, with just this kind of rage. Like, they show, yes, he has a business. Yes, he's smart. Yes, he has all these cartels, things that he's doing. All that's true. But he's 100% motivated by his rage, and not his rage at Superman, which has been the standard Lex Luthor. It is his rage at Lois, and he's like, I will take away all of your support system. But the thing that rings slightly false to me, because is that Lex goes up to her and says, if you apologize and do a retraction or whatever, and no, he tells her, if you quit your job, if you quit your job as a reporter, I won't do anything. And I'm like, having seen more episodes, that's a lie. his rage is such that even if she had done exactly what he asked her to do at the top, he still would have destroyed her family. He
Well,
can't help himself.
I think it's based on his belief that she's not gonna go along with that
Oh, absolutely.
because
He
that's not who
absolutely.
she is.
I know, and that's why I'm saying that rang false. And then because later he tells her, if you had just done what I told you to do at the top, none of this would have happened. But I'm like, you're a liar because you would have done this anyway. So
Newsflash: supervillains lie.
Yeah. I think gaslighting is part of the package, isn't it? You know,
that's pretty funny. So I also wait, we're doing first three. So
First three.
in what I what I did not like as much is that Jordan, who has been Superboy all this time, and they've shown that he basically has been doing it for the fame and the make himself feel better because I call him emo boy. And
Super baby.
and so
Super
yes,
baby.
that's pretty accurate. And so for the first two episodes, all his decisions are emotional decisions that are bad. He is not making any good decisions. And Jonathan is pretty angry with him for most of it. And what I loved was in episode 3, he has this really well done emotional scene in the barn where he just goes off on his brother. And because the whole thing is what they stress in the first two episodes is how calm Jonathan has always been and how level headed he's always been. And just the pressure of the dad dying, worrying about the mom, and then the heart getting crushed, he loses it. And that scene was by far the highlight of the last couple episodes, just because it just, one, it was really well done scene, and two, it activated his powers. And so now we have a teenager who has sense and can do stuff. I just like I get why they kind of where they are going with that, but I think you can't have I don't never mind, but that's for a later episode. It's another rant. But for the first few episodes, I I'd say my biggest issue is probably Superboy, um, and the bad CGI. But overall, I like this version of the story and how because everybody, it's kind of like they're coming from the point of everybody knows the story, so how can we make it different? And I like the changes that they made.
The fact that this is the fourth screen version of this story, because there was an animated film, DC's first original animated film from the former regime, was so bad that they remade it as a two-parter and adapted the comic book story better. And then Batman v Superman also used aspects of the story, which, hey, Superman's second appearance, let's kill him, said no one ever, except for the idiots at Warner Brothers Pictures. What I like about this one is the fact that the reason the series works is Superman and Lois relationship. The fact that this is a great love story that is, 80 plus years old, and add the kids into it, even though one of them is kind of annoying.
Kind of. Okay.
In the comics, they only have Jonathan. I still sometimes question the wisdom of emo teen, but whatever. But the fact that Sam Lane, because in pretty much all versions of the stories across the 80 years, Sam Lane is a general, B, does not like the fact that Lois
His
is
daughter
with Superman.
right.
And the fact that he sacrifices himself to provide a donor heart so Ghost Mom can resurrect Cal, that was I thought it was well earned. Especially, Dylan Walsh has been, playing and it was pretty much a thankless role throughout most of the series, where he's just there to be, I'm from the government and I'm here to take advantage of the fact that my son-in-law's, Superman. But I thought the emotional content of that sacrifice was well, it made sense, and it was a logical way to resurrect him, considering the other ways they've done it in different media range from really to that. No, that's dumb. So,
Um, I had stopped watching the show because it had just gotten to the point where it was getting on my nerves. I thought a lot of it was dumb. I thought a lot of the story writing hinged on characters doing stupid things to keep the plot line going. And I was convinced to come back and watch it again. I started watching the last two episodes of the previous season so I could see the introduction of Lex Luthor. I love Michael Cudlitz. I think he's terrific. I loved him in Walking Dead. I loved his character. I loved the way he played him. He's terrific actor, and I think he's
Good in
doing a
Southland.
bang up.
Yeah, oh
I'm
yeah, he
sorry?
was Southland. He was
Oh,
really,
I
good in
really
didn't.
good
I
Southland.
didn't see that.
Yeah.
But I think he's doing a bang up job in this. I mean, really, he's scary as hell, and he's clearly committed to the role. My problem is that yes, he's doing a great job playing this character, but to me, this character is not Lex Luthor. He may be interesting, but he's not Lex Luthor. Not my idea of Lex Luthor. And so that's that. I mean, he's a really great thug of a character, but I just don't see Lex Luthor as a thug. And so he's not really working for me. And again, it's the same problem of the storyline being driven by stupidity. Particularly, you know, you yourself talked about the
Superboy
yeah, Superboy character.
or Emo
I
Boy,
mean,
whichever.
either way it works, you know, as his perfect title, but he's intolerable to watch. He acts like an infant. He makes stupid decisions all the time. He's written in a way that he exists solely so that he can do something idiotic, and then that makes the storyline move forward, and then they have to clean up after him, and that gets tiring after a while. And this is, I mean, when I was watching the show before, that's pretty much what his character was reduced to then. You know, he would just be whining in a corner, you know, oh, poor me. And then when he got powers, it was just, oh, poor me with powers. You don't let me use my powers. And that's what he does. And that gets just so tiring. It's like I couldn't believe that even after all this time that I hadn't been watching it, his character hadn't developed emotionally in any way whatsoever. He's just stranded in this one spot. So, you know, I mean, I could see where people like the dynamic between Lois and Clark because they work really well together. There is a great chemistry between the actors, but I mean, that's a domestic drama. I don't, you know, tune in to watch Superman for that. That's great if it's on top of everything else that's written well, but I don't think that the show is written well.
I just want to jump in by saying it's interesting that you said that, Allison, because that is why I liked the show or liked the show. I'm not saying I don't like the show now, but for me, especially the first two seasons, I loved the domestic aspect of the show. I loved the fact that we were seeing Superman and his small life, and you know, he's a family man, you know, Superman is a family man. So I absolutely loved the show. And that's why you know, Malik, the show I think is a very different show in the fourth season. And it definitely has problems, even for me, someone who's watched it from the beginning and who's enjoyed the show. For me, it has actually lost some of the qualities that I really liked about the show. Which I think if you had seen it, I'm not telling you to watch the show from the beginning.
I did see the show at the beginning, and then I gave up on it.
Yeah, and so it changed. I think for me, the show, you know, became a little bit less interesting. You know, there was a side stories with the mayor's
about Lana and all that stuff. Yeah, I hated all of that.
You know what I mean? So like, I could see why Allison like dropped the show. I could see it. Like, you know, for me, there were a lot of things that started to kind of loosen up and get annoying, and kind of, you know, it wasn't as tight and it wasn't as interesting. But because I watched it from the beginning, and because I am invested in the characters, and because I love Clark and Lois so much from the first two seasons, I do really kind of care about how it all is wrapped up. It's the final season. But I have to also agree with Allison, as much as you know, I think Lex Luthor, you know, the acting is done really well. and he is a scary character. That's not my Lex Luthor. I like a more cerebral Lex Luthor. He's kind of thuggish, and I'm not really kind of connecting with this Lex Luthor. But for me, as a person who's been watching the series from the beginning, and knowing that this is the season finale, or series finale, I'm just kind of watching to the end. And I think they probably, I don't know how long they had planned it, but I think they probably figured out that Super Baby is annoying, which is why they handed the powers to the other son.
So he's emo boy and Super Baby. Okay.
Yes, emo boy, Super Baby is so annoying, as Allison was saying. He was annoying, before he got his powers. He was annoying when he got his powers. So now they've decided. I think the writers were like, you know what? Let's just switch it and give the other son the powers, and then we can avoid writing, this character. I think they couldn't figure out how to make him likable. Quite frankly, I think they just gave up, and they were like, yeah, we're not going anywhere with this. So I think the series is flawed for sure, and I don't think it's as strong as it was in the first 2 seasons. For me, it was a domestic drama, and I like that better, actually. So, but it's still fun to watch. I care about the characters enough, and I want to see, how everything is resolved. So,
All right. Well, let's wrap that one up. All right. So, next up, let's talk about Shrinking. And this is season 2 with Harrison Ford and Jason Segel. And oh God, I can't remember anybody else's name. A lot of other people. And I know that Allison has recused. Thank you, that word, herself from this series, because her personal vendetta. I was trying to make it sound cool. I was trying to make it sound cooler.
Antipathy is a good word.
Okay, of Jason Segel,
I'm curious. What does that mean?
She hates him for some reason. I don't know.
I've seen him in other things, and I can't stand him. He gets on my every nerve.
Not even Freaks and Geeks?
I didn't see that. So.
Oh, okay. I can understand not liking Jason Segel, and to be fair, in this show, he's not really likable. Like, he's like my least favorite of the people, because they give him so many like emotional foibles that he's not a great father.
But that's the whole point.
I know. I totally agree with you.
He's likably unlikable.
But if you already don't like him, that's kind of a hard sell. So I totally get,
where heavy lift.
That's a heavy lift. But I feel like Harrison Ford totally makes up for it, because watching him be this comedic genius is great. I really I didn't know he was this funny.
Working Girl.
Oh my God, that's a really old movie.
Yeah,
but I had to scrape my brain to remember that.
Nobody has written a really great comedy for him since Working Girl.
Was he funny? Anyway, sorry, that's a side track. So we're gonna talk about the first. Is it 2 episodes of Shrinking?
You said 3.
Okay, so let me change that. So the first 3 episodes of Shrinking. This season is dealing.
What did you say?
Did
you say 4?
I might have said 4.
4 of Shrinking?
4.
We're behind. We're trying to catch up. Sorry, guys.
You need to do the first 2 to get through his relationship with Jessica Williams.
Well, yes, there's that. But really what it's about is we meet the drunk driver that killed the wife. Because all of first season was about him getting over the grief of his wife. And this season, he's confronted head on with.
He's not confronted yet.
Well, no, he did. In the second episode, the guy walks up to him and wants to talk to him, and he's like, no.
Right. He's at the office. He came to the office.
So he is confronted with him. So I think that, and that's what made the daughter weirdly stalk him. So that is an interesting angle that they're playing that I didn't see coming from a comedy. And the casting is fantastic. They got oh God, what's his name?
Roy
Kent, the co-creator of the show.
Right. So that is an interesting choice. So it went from a really funny, fun moment to a very serious, dark moment. So, who wants to go next?
I mean,
Me. Oh, go, Tom, go.
oh no, just basically, Jason Segel and Jessica Williams are co-workers, and she was his late wife's best friend. So
So messy.
they've been uh they've had benefits, and she's realizing it's a bad thing.
I feel like she
And
knew that from the
he
beginning, right?
said, what?
Didn't she realize that from the like she knew from the beginning that it was a
She
bad
knew it
thing?
was a bad thing, but she started to having feelings, and she
Feelings.
told
That's
him,
why.
and he basically just wants to keep doing it no matter what. He doesn't reciprocate, and she finally had the cojones to break it off, and hell hath no fury. So I'm loving her just basically telling, standing up for herself and telling him he's a piece of. I love her. I'd never seen her before this, and she's amazing.
She was
Such a
from the
breath of fresh.
Daily Show. I'd seen her on the Daily Show.
Yes,
Yeah,
I've seen her on the Daily Show, and it did not expect her to have this range, and this quality of acting. She was funny on the Daily Show, she was, but this show requires acting, like
acting.
actual acting,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I did not think that she had it in her, and I think she's hilarious, but also like there's depth to her acting, like
Poignant.
it's poignant, and her relationship with the neighbor is fantastic.
Oh, how did that even?
Their relationship is fantastic. I mean, the neighbor, the unlikable neighbor, is so unlikable.
Wait, is she unlikable? Do you not like her?
She's
No,
just
I love
got a
her.
strong personality.
She's
I
got a
don't,
very strong personality.
Yeah,
I don't think
I like
Liz.
strong
I mean, she's
personality.
kind of crazy, but
Yes.
I like Liz. I mean,
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't think she was on. You said you don't.
They
want
talk about how unlikable she is and how unbearable she is, and how much Harrison Ford's character can't stand her and nobody likes her. I'm not saying I don't like her. I
Okay.
love her.
Okay.
I'm saying that, as a character on the page, she is unlikable. You know what I mean? But she's one of those likable, unlikable characters. And for me, I think that her relationship with Jessica Williams' character, I forgot her name, is fantastic. To me, it does a great job of celebrating womanship,
female
womanship,
friendship.
a
Yeah,
woman
that's true.
female friendship. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think it's really great. They're
Her
really
character's
honest.
name is Gabby.
Gabby.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
That's right, Gabby. So Gabby and Liz, I think that it does a great job. It's very representative of how women can support each other and still be really honest with each other. And it's a gold mine for humor, though. The riffs between the two of them, it's fantastic. It's really, really good. So that's one of my favorite parts of the show, has become one of the favorite parts of my show. I love the relationship, and this would be expected, but again, because it's not so much of a surprise, but it is the humor of Harrison Ford. His relationship with Jason Segel is fantastic. Their love-hate sort of father-son kind of relationship is amazing. So I love that. I think the relationship between, I pretty much, if I have to think about it, I think all the relationships are great. Liz's relationship with her husband Derek
I
is
love Derek.
amazing. Derek is amazing, and I thought he was going to be a throwaway character, and he definitely was in season 1, but he has absolutely been written so well in season 2.
And then they have the creepy son that he has to wrangle.
Yeah, that creepy sad son. Yeah, the
Yes.
creepy sad son.
He's like,
But yeah,
don't think about her skin, like you want to take it off of her, and think about it this way. And then he goes, "Hi, you have really nice skin." He goes, "Oh, that's my bad. I totally said that."
Yeah. Well, I think for me, the show is doing just as well as it was in season 1. It feels like a little bit different of a show.
It's a little more dramatic, I think.
Yeah,
it
feels a little bit more different of a show, but I think it's still as good. It's not a sophomore slump in any way. It's not disappointing or kind of, doing, sort of like, oh, the first season was the only good season. But it definitely does feel a little bit like a little bit more of a different show, but I'm okay with that. I feel like I'm growing with the character.
Are we
So
doing
I'm-
are we doing 3 and 4, or just 1 and 2?
Oh, we were gonna do 3 and 4, but
mean-
we were actually running out of time though. We're
Okay.
behind. So
I
we
mean,
probably.
I'm glad they solved the thing with his client from season 1 who pushed
Oh,
her
the ones in
husband
the
off
murder
cliff.
they got put in jail for
Heidi,
murder.
Heidi Gardner from SNL.
Right.
Because
Yes.
that storyline seemed to be going nowhere, but I'm
Yes.
glad they finally put it in gear
Yeah.
where they basically, it's not a full-on intervention, but they record all of her friends saying what they thought of her and how the husband was killing her spirit. And when they played it for her, and then when the DA declined to press charges, she moved to Canada with her sister, or up north
Oh,
with her
that's
sister.
right.
Right.
Because
right.
that was not a pleasant storyline to watch, because unfortunately that does happen a lot in people's lives, battered woman
Yeah.
syndrome, where she keeps making excuses for him and feels guilty or whatever. But I'm glad they
To be
broke that.
fair, her pushing him off a cliff, I can see why she would feel a little guilty about that. But anyway.
Yeah, but he lived. If he had died, that's one thing. But he lived and was still an unrepentant a-hole. So
that is very true. All right, let's move on. All right, next up, we're going to talk What We Do in the Shadows, and it is in its final season, and they dropped 3 episodes for their premiere, and this is the, what do you call it? The like layover from like last season. The way last season ended, we had the whole Guillermo finally becomes a vampire, but like a very bad vampire, like he doesn't fully do his change. And then when he finally does change at the very end, he's still a bad vampire because he's such a nice guy. He doesn't want to kill anyone.
Well, and
And-
also he is a Van Helsing.
Right. So there's that complicated, but at the very end, they actually countered all of that. So he had all his vampire powers, but when they went to this buffet to like eat all the people you want to eat, he wouldn't kill anyone. And so then they asked him point blank, like, dude, do you really want to be a vampire? And he was like, no, I don't. So they ended up killing his maker, which unvampired him for some, because that's the story. If your maker gets killed, then
Right.
you don't necessarily get killed, but however long you've lived comes to you. So since he'd only been a vampire for like a couple of months, he like grew a beard. So this season is a continuation of that. Now that the whole reason he was a familiar was to become a vampire, and now that he knows he doesn't want to become a vampire, then there's no point in him being a familiar. But they had to figure out a reason to keep him around, so they like have him living in the shed. And then they introduced this. By the way, I do not like this new guy. Was this Larry? What's his
Jeff.
name?
Jerry?
Is it
Jeff.
Jerry?
Jeff
No,
the
it's Jerry.
vampire.
I
Jeff
thought
the
it was
vampire.
Jerry.
Oh,
Is it
Jerry.
Jerry the vampire.
Jerry.
Sorry.
It's Jerry. I don't like him at all. And just being like, oh, we forgot we left this guy in the basement for
20
is it,
some
since the
years.
I thought it was going to be a
30-some
one-off
years.
joke. I thought it was
I
going to be like
did
a one-off
too,
episode.
but it's like,
Well,
Yeah.
we haven't seen him in 2 and 3.
I know, but
We've
it's
heard
like,
about
Comes
him.
back.
So what?
He comes back.
But
Uh,
I
He
mean,
does
my
in
whole
4,
my whole
but not
point-
for the whole episode. It's just a bit at the beginning.
Yeah, but it's such. We're in the last season. Why are we introducing random
Yeah.
characters that we're all supposed to know?
Here's my problem with the first 3 episodes of the season. They're amusing, but they don't seem to add up to anything.
Mm.
Oh,
And
that's a good point.
This just doesn't seem. Is this the way you guys want to end your show?
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
these, the hypnotism episode 3 was, it was a one joke episode, and they repeated it for all the cast members. And the episode 2 with Guillermo getting a real job, and then
Nandor and
Nandor
Naja following him to work.
following him to work, and that again, it was kind of a one note joke. It was funny, but this just seems so slight compared to
Did
is
they
there no art
know?
for
Did
this
they
season?
know that this was going to be the last season when they wrote it? Like it doesn't. You're
I
right.
think
It
so.
doesn't feel like our series finale. We're going out. This is how we're going. It doesn't feel like that because last season, with the entire point of last season was about Guillermo being a vampire.
Guillermo turning
It had one clear through line.
through line.
And this season, I don't know what the through line is. I could not
It
tell
just
you.
feels like it could be one-offs. I don't know. I haven't seen 4 yet, but I was a little disappointed. Although
I
it's
can see
always
that.
good to see Doug Jones show up in anything.
Oh, that's right. Because
And
he
him
was-
hypnotizing himself with the recording was
Oh, that was hilarious.
Yeah, that was pretty good. And that's the thing is they're really good at like you said, like the one joke. You
Mhm.
know, so they've got like a good like oneer, and then you're like, well, what are we doing for the rest of the episode? So I'm hopeful that they, as Yusin likes to say, land the plane. I'm really hopeful that they land the plane on this series, or else it'll be like, you know, you just tell people just finish the season with Guillermo, and then you can stop.
Right.
Like I hope that's not true. Allison, Yusin, any other thoughts, you guys?
Not that much. I agree that so far it's not their strongest season by a long shot. I get the feeling though, especially because having seen the most recent episode, that the through line for this is basically, you know, trying to find a way for Guillermo to truly leave the nest, you know, and
Mm,
find his own way. But
Okay.
I mean, I could be wrong. But that is the only thing I've been able to figure out.
And they're
That's
circling back to from the pilot.
World domination.
World domination
domination.
I feel like they're trying to link the pilot to the end,
yeah.
Right.
but I
Yeah.
don't know that that's been so long. I don't
So
need
long ago, I
that.
don't care about the world domination.
Well, I don't
Exactly.
take it seriously. I think that their attempt at world domination is going to go as well as it did before. It just ended up with them living in the house and doing what they do.
Right.
Which is fine. You know, I don't know. I hope that the back end of this season is funnier than the front. I do like the whole bit with the Frankenstein monster in the basement.
All right.
That's pretty hilarious, and the whole thing with Colin Robinson, you know, trying to teach it and all of that. So yeah, so all of that is good. But yeah, I'm they got off to a little bit of a wobbly start, but I'm willing to give them that because
Well, it's the last season, so.
yeah, it's the last season, and you know they've been so consistent most of the time, so I figure okay, you know I'll give them time to get it together.
All right, well, let's move on. Next up, we're going to talk Only Murders in the Building, and it's the last 2 episodes that lead us to our killer. And the only credit that I claim is that I knew it had to do with the stuntman. I was like, he's killing the stuntman. He's not trying to kill them. It's all about the stuntman. But I still had no idea who the killer was. So they got me again. This is what, season 4? And I have
Mhm.
yet to be anywhere near guessing who the killer has been. They're
They-
pretty good at those red herrings.
They did a good job of dropping crumbs though, because you know
They
through
did.
the whole thing
They
you
always
keep
do.
getting these little bits where for some reason the guy who wrote this script can't do revisions on it, and
Right.
they're just
Oh.
horrible, and it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse, and you're wondering, you know, if you'd been paying attention to this, it's like, how is it he can't write revisions to his own script, you know? And they answer that to the end. It's like that's the little clue that they're running through. So I thought that they did a good job as far as that. So there was something that could have led you to the right conclusion. It's
Well,
not like they just came up with something at the
And
end.
they showed you that he was like putting on fake beards and fake
Right.
glasses,
They definitely
which was
they
so
earn it.
bizarre.
They
Yeah.
they never they
Yeah.
never just bring some character you've never seen before or you'd never ever think about, you know, and make them the murderer. I think they've always earned the murderer. Like you always think, oh, okay, that totally makes sense, or like, oh, that's so good. I can't remember which season it was where I guessed the murderer. I can't remember, but like 1 or 2 seasons, I was like, oh, it's this one, and I was right about it. But this one, I was completely and totally out of the blue, did not guess it. So, and it was fun for me because, like I said, they do earn the actual murderer, and so you know, at this point when I'm watching the show, the murder does matter to me. Who was the actual murderer and how did it all happen? But I will say that the episode that tells you it was really boring. I mean, it was like
Yes.
literally okay, so I'm just gonna watch how it all happened, right? Like, it was like we know all of this. If you just sort of, they could have done it so much quicker. And that was just the whole episode.
Yeah, I think part of it too is I had like celebrity fatigue. So
Yeah.
the whole thing about Ron Howard, I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God,
Yeah.
can we just
Yeah.
skip
See,
this?
in another
Yeah.
season, that cameo would have been really fun and funny.
Yeah.
But like you said, there were way too many
So many
cameos in
celebrities.
this.
Yeah.
I'm so over this. I am
Yeah.
hoping that they bring it down next year to just the gang and the people that we've seen before.
And the
When I
occasional
think
Meryl Streep drop in.
yeah,
from
I
New
mean
Zealand.
Hang with her
that's
real
fine.
life
I mean,
bae.
well, she's integrated like as a recurring character now, so I'm totally okay with her. But I mean, you compare this to like the first season, where the only real, I mean, yes, they had like Nathan Lane in it, but he was integrated
And
as like an
Sting.
person in the
Oh,
he was
right.
in
Sting
the
was a
show.
good one, yeah.
Sting was the only one who could qualify as their celebrity cameo, because he came in, I think he did like 2 episodes tops. And he was Sting. He was himself.
And he was like
Um,
he had one scene in the elevator
I
where
still love the line, Winnie, don't stand so close to Sting. That made me laugh.
So,
But I
yes.
mean, it was special because it was just that one off, and anyone else was just, part of the cast. And now this last season, you didn't have any time for the 3 leads. I mean, usually that's what we tune in for, is watching their dynamic. And so much of that instead was given over to all these other stars who are doing cameos, and the regular supporting cast who we've gotten to know and like, the denizens of the building, had so little time. And I mean, it was like occasional word here and there, a line as they're standing outside the elevator, and then they
Speaking of
disappear for the
words,
rest of it.
I'm thrilled that you dropped in the word denizens in a conversation. That's really lovely.
The secret word for today is denizen.
Denizens.
Yes.
Check
That-
that
that
off
ma-
my list.
That made
Never
my
say you
podcast.
can't learn something from our podcast.
But yeah, with this season, it's just too much, way too much. I really hope they pare it back next.
But
next
I thought the
season.
last episode though was pretty good.
It was pretty good. I was afraid they were going to kill Meryl Streep's character.
Well,
Yeah.
that's good,
Because
but
they kept
occurred to
talking
me.
they
about
kept talking. I would have suspected it if they hadn't kept saying it.
it.
They kept saying, "You're going to get
That
her."
would have been too much of a downer, though. Like it really would have been too much of a downer. They're so in love, and like it's a wedding, and she flew in. Like that would have been too much. I was not worried that they were going to kill her, or I didn't find it. I didn't find it like.
Once they said it out loud, I wasn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't really
No.
worried about it.
No. So they ended up killing the doorman,
doorman.
right?
Yeah.
And he was
Right.
like, was his neck slit? What was he was like?
He was bleeding
It looked
blood all
like
in the
that.
fountain. I'm not entirely sure
Right.
where his wound was.
And Taya
Okay.
Leone shows up.
Oh right! Oh my god! I forgot
that's
about her.
right. Because
She was
she's gonna obviously be one of the main suspects of the reason why the doorman got killed, related to why her husband was killed or something, or
his
disappeared.
husband
Yeah.
or whatever.
something. Yeah, something
Do
that
we
we
know
don't
who her husband is?
Nope.
No, she just
Okay.
said
No. They did a news
Like a
broadcast
News
earlier.
broadcast in
Yeah,
the background.
he's like some mafia figure or something like
Right.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
you
that's
guys
just the only
remember
time that's the only time we saw him, right? In the newscast.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just
Oh,
then.
okay. Yeah, because I saw the newscast and I thought, wait, are we supposed to know who this guy is? Like, it was weird. I was wondering why we were watching a newscast about a mafia guy. Okay,
Yeah, me too. But apparently it's just a breadcrumb for next season.
got it.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right. So we're wrapping that one up. So another good season of
Thumbs
Only
up.
Mur-
It was fun.
Yep. All right. Next.
Oh wait, no,
wait.
we have to talk about how Jan came in and saved the day.
Oh my God.
That was perfect.
Do we
when-
though? I don't know. I didn't.
I thought that was great.
I
was
love
not
that she's been
expecting that.
hiding in the rafters
Tunnels.
the entire time. Yeah.
Yes. I
In
loved
crawl
it when they were
spaces.
dragging her out and she's like, we're endgame, baby. We're endgame. like,
I
I was like,
really,
that's fantastic.
I kind of wish they had used Jane Lynch more.
Mm.
'Cause it
Yeah.
feels like we got to see more of her after they killed her.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
We did.
Yeah.
And I've loved her as an actor since Best in Show. But I just thought, oh, what a shame that, you didn't find a way to use her in life as you did in death.
Really, she did more in this season than they had her do ever before. Although I think that that's the case whenever they do kill someone off, is that becomes their shining season,
Yeah.
where they do all the
Yeah.
flashbacks.
That's why
and
we're
in
gonna
her case,
find-
a ghost.
Right.
So yeah, but unfortunately, the really sad thing is I loved Saz. I loved the character,
Yeah.
and we're not going to get any more of her after this.
Nope.
Well, we're gonna
That's a shame.
apparently find out a lot about the doorman, who
Yeah.
told
Yep.
us some story right before. He was like, "I don't do antidotes," and he walked out.
Right.
So next season we'll find out who. Like, I don't even know the doorman's name. So
Yeah.
all right. So yeah. So I think we're wrapping that one up. Next up, we're gonna talk Agatha All Along, and we're gonna talk episodes 5 and 6. And it's the trial with the slumber party, and then the flashback episode.
Yep.
So Malik, you want to start that one off?
Yeah. So I found, I mean, if we separate them into two pieces, or even I'll make a comment regarding kind of how the season has gone. So I mentioned early on the first two episodes, I wasn't thrilled with when Catherine Hahn is kind of the center of the character of the show. And in the subsequent episodes, she was less central, and I actually think the show got better. Well, here it kind of went back in the other direction again. So I like all of the characters around her, but I get less excited when Catherine Hahn is the center of the action, because I don't know now whether I haven't liked her before, but I certainly don't like her in this. I think she overacts, and I think she's generally uninteresting. If we go to the flashback episode about Teen, I like him in his flashback episodes far better than I've liked him in the prior elements of the season. I think his backstory was really interesting. It's also, we talked about this show. You could almost watch this show without really needing to know about the rest of the Marvel Universe, which has been cool. But then his flashback, his backstory episode ties us back into the universe, I think, in a really interesting way. You still don't have to know everything, but it attaches us back to the main story. And I just think his work as an actor, to see who he was before this series started, essentially, to who he has become throughout the series, is pretty well done. So I like that episode. It's probably one of my favorite. I was surprised. I had a little bit of a Game of Thrones thing that they kept killing everybody else. I was like, no, not the young wolf. No, not the Red Wedding. They killed Jon Snow. I didn't realize they were going to keep killing off the witches. And we talked about this offline, but particularly the witch played by Ali An, yes,
Alice.
who's also on Diplomat, which we'll be showing later. I really liked her character, so that part hit me a little bit. But they just kept killing the witches. So I guess that's the nature of the story now.
Of the road, of
but-
the Witch's Road.
According to
but that
legend-
surprised me a little bit. Was that?
According to legend, Agatha is the only survivor.
Yes, of the Witch's Road.
Yeah, her
Well,
last
previously, but I
Yeah.
didn't think this is a new
Oh,
one.
no, previously.
Yeah.
Previously.
Yeah.
Previously
But
on
I mean,
the
but
Witch's
I
Road.
think that what we're supposed to learn from that is Agatha being in Agatha's coven is not a good thing.
No.
You do not want to be in her coven.
There's
But
a
I was-
reason she's a lone witch.
I would say something to Malik's comment about the teen. What was so interesting about his character, because I totally agree with you on this, is that he was actually playing two different people. He was playing William before the car accident, and then after the car accident, he's Billy / the teen. Because the whole reveal that you kind of skipped over is that he's Billy Maximoff.
He is Billy
Yeah.
Maximoff. He is Wanda and Vision's magical son.
Yeah, I'd argue that he played 3 characters.
Okay. Who's
Because
the
I
third?
think his Billy Maximoff before this series starts, or flashback Billy Maximoff, is different than teen that we've seen throughout this episode.
Okay.
That's what I thought was pretty great about his performance.
Okay. I can see that.
The
There was but I don't want to completely go over the episode that because I want to also address slightly the whole because I agree with you a little about the Catherine Hahn thing because I think as I watched a little more, like I had the same thing where I don't like Agatha. Like the more you see of her, the more I don't like her.
she's
And
an
I'm like,
anti-hero to begin with.
I know she is, but I thought what this series was trying to do was to make me kind of see stuff from her perspective and then maybe have sympathy for her. And that's like the standard trope. But I agree with Malik in that she's the overacting. I think I realize is kind of deliberate. Like she's putting on a face, a facade.
Definitely.
But I think it could be more subtle.
Yes.
To Malik's
Well,
point, which is you can do that where I, as the audience, understand that I'm not seeing your real personality, that you're pretending to be this villain, or you're pretending that you don't care, but you can do it in a way that's more layered. It feels
Actors who are pretending should be good at it.
okay. That is kind of the nature of acting. So yes, I can get behind
I
that.
would argue that Schaefer as showrunner has Han as lead doing exactly what she wants her to do. And it's a deliberate choice because I think we're all I mean, I know Allison and I have finished, but when you get further along, you will see different shades of the character.
Okay.
Okay.
That is the most that's the
subtle
most
without spoilers.
non-spoilery way I can put it. I just love the way they reveal after Alice's death in 5 and apparently when it looks like Teen may have killed Lilia and
yeah, he buried them all in the mud or whatever that
why
was.
can't I think of Sashir Zamata's character's name? Jennifer. When it looks like they might be dead, Agatha just turns to Teen and says, "You're so much like your mother." And that's pretty much where episode 5 ends. And then we get the flashback of how Billy came to be
Billy. Yeah.
Yeah, well, this show is, and we've talked a little bit about this. This is the show that nobody really wanted, but I did. I would argue,
except for you.
Well, no hardcore comic book, comic book guy geek really wanted because they're like, give us something else, give us Young Avengers right away. But Jack Schaefer, I'm telling you, I'm high on Jack Schaefer. It's just, they need to put her in charge of all of Marvel Television as their super showrunner.
Wow.
The thing.
No spoilers.
I would just say that this does not fall into the pitfalls that pretty much every single other Marvel show fell into, with one minor exception.
I would agree.
Casting Catherine Hahn.
Oh no!
That's one of the reasons that I love this show is because of Catherine Hahn. I am one of the few people, I guess, who was actually looking forward to this because I loved her character and I loved her take on it. And when they said that they were going to do, an Agatha show, I was like, I'm there. I will watch that. And everybody was like, oh no, it's going to be terrible. And I think part of that actually is because there has been so many Marvel shows that did not live up to what they were supposed to be.
There's no comic book source for this either.
Nope.
No, so that's probably why it's like, oh, it's out of whole cloth. But I think that they managed to do with this show, they created their own original thing, and they stayed, without giving any spoilers, they were concerned with their own story and not with tying this into the next movie that comes down the pike or the next TV show or
Yeah.
you know, and I mean, and it
Well, no, they
could
did. I was going to
ultimately,
say, I think they're setting up the
yeah,
Vision
they
TV
they
show.
they could I
Maybe.
mean, it definitely ties in with Wanda, and it
Yeah.
could tie in with other stuff. It definitely can do that, but the main interest of the writers of this show and the producers of the show was to create a good story,
Yeah.
Yep.
with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And it made all the difference because
Yeah.
you were just invested in this story and invested in the characters. And you know, even if we don't see any of the witches again, you know, or anything like that, they came so alive in this series. I mean, you know, I was with them all the way throughout the whole thing when Alice dies in, you know, protecting Agatha.
Mhm.
Um,
And
you know, I
Agatha
felt
kills her.
terrible.
But I have a
And
question. For that moment when Agatha kills Alice, because she jumps in front of Agatha to protect her, and then Agatha like sucks all her power out, and everyone's yelling at her. Do you think
Ah.
she's doing it deliberately? Because it felt like it felt a little like she didn't really have control.
Mhm.
Yes,
But
that's what it felt like.
okay, that's what I was like. Like she
Yeah.
didn't do it
Yeah,
on
I
purpose.
think
Yeah, okay.
there's an element that she just can't help herself. It's there's she this is what she does,
I'm
and
not
she
bad. I
sort
was
of
just
goes
drawn
into
this way.
another. Yeah. Well, she goes all she does is sort of zens out on this power and forgets where she is, what she's doing. All she wants is the sense of this power coming in. And it only stops when there's nothing left.
Right.
So I think that I mean she did actually stop by it was too late by then, but she did actually stop when she heard the voice of her son.
Oh, that's
Um,
right. Was this
and so you
Nikki
know
or
that
somebody? Something like that.
Nikki, yeah,
Yeah.
Nikki
Nicholas
Scratch,
Scratch.
Nicholas Scratch.
Terrible
And
name. Sounds like a mouse.
Actually, if you look it up, it is a nickname for the devil.
it is Old
Oh.
Scratch is
It's Old
another name for
Scratch.
the devil.
Right.
And I
Oh.
think Nicholas Scratch is also the name of a character that they gave to one of Sabrina's boyfriends in
Oh
the
yeah.
Sabrina and Teenage Witch.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Wow, that
but name gets
different.
around.
Oh,
Okay.
it's a name. It would be
So Tom, did you look it up?
no, dude.
You just knew that? I
You
didn't
just
know
knew
He's a
that.
professor. He knows these things.
He is a teacher, you know.
I'm
He's smart.
I'm into mythology, which you know there are some aspects of you know occultist stuff that crosses over with that. I will say this that there are I would argue that the best is yet to come because some of the episodes coming up for the last three, one of them in particular is a standout, but the choice again, Jack Schaefer. Marvel. I should write an open letter to Kevin Feige. Hire her to run Marvel Television. Period. Because the guys don't know what they're doing, but she does.
I'm not gonna argue
She's
that.
not involved with. She's not the showrunner of Vision Quest, by the way. So I don't know how directly this will lead into that or tie into that.
That's a good point.
But
You said you didn't say. Did you watch it? You didn't say anything because then we got to wrap up.
Yeah, no, I'm enjoying it. I think that I did want the series. I was interested, just like Allison, when I heard that it was going to happen. I thought, oh, I'll watch that. And it's been so refreshing to see a Marvel show that that works. You know, that like I'm just enjoying it. So yeah, and if you guys tell me it's going to get even better and it ends great, then and it lands the plane beautifully and everyone gets off happy.
well, I don't know about happy.
Not
but...
everyone. There are not enough parachutes.
And everyone's
And
not
define
getting off.
happy.
The viewers.
Okay, the viewers.
Yes, the viewers are going to be
I
very
will say
happy.
the viewers will be satisfied.
The viewers will be satisfied. So yeah, no, I'm excited about it, finishing it off, but I do feel I'm gonna hold back my judgment on Catherine Hahn until the series is over, because I do feel like Malik, you know, especially in that first episode or and a half, I thought she was acting weird. Like I just didn't understand her acting choices. And I thought you know, I was very confused, really. And I thought, oh, this is some really bad overacting. And I didn't understand what was going on. I mean, still like the show and everything, but and then, you know, things have been changing and stuff. So I'll wait till the series is over to kind of make my full assessment of her performance. But no, absolutely enjoying the show. It's fun. It's really fun.
All right, so let's wrap this.
We didn't talk about Ralph Boner's reappearance.
Oh wow! That was in the flashback one. I was like, "What are you talking about?"
Episode 6.
I mean, I don't feel like I need to.
No! What's funny though is when he showed up in WandaVision, everybody and their little sister was convinced that they're gonna tie in the Fox universe to the MCU finally.
Because he was a speedster, right?
Because he was Quicksilver in the Fox X-Men movies, and Jack Schaefer is like, nope, we have zero interest in. I have zero interest in that, but have your little fanboy theories.
Right.
Bye.
Yeah,
But I loved him coming back as a complete conspiracy-addled crazy man. It just that worked. That was
all
terrific.
he was missing with his tinfoil hat. So
exactly. You don't know. I mean, that thing he was wearing could have been lined.
All right, let's wrap this up. All right, if you have any questions or comments, you leave them at tvcampfire@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter, we're on Facebook. You can listen to us on sci-fi.radio, iTunes, and 6 Degrees of Geek. And now we're on YouTube, and we'll talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.